My half-sister and the Northern Marquis are deeply in love. For her sake, he won't even eat chicken, duck, or fish. Every time my brother sees my half-sister, he can't help but feel emotional, wishing that Ninglan was his real sister. Everyone loved her, and no one remembered that the Northern Marquis had once been my fiancé. He clearly didn't like me, but he personally requested an imperial decree for our marriage and then framed me for meeting someone in secret, all to make his younger sister his legitimate daughter. My chastity was ruined, and I ended my life with a piece of white silk. While they were celebrating their wedding, envied by everyone around them. Afterward, my elder brother knew the truth but kept it hidden, merely sighing that I was unlucky and couldn't compare to Ninglan. Reborn on the day of the imperial marriage decree. This time, no one will get their wish. Chapter 1. By the mandate of heaven, the emperor decrees, Jiang family's legitimate daughter, gentle and virtuous, with the grace of an orchid and the heart of a lily, is now betrothed to the Northern Marquis. My mother, beaming with joy, presented a generous pouch and saw off the eunuch who had delivered the imperial edict. Plus a more V. I can free on WeChat official account, Huba, Sherwar will soon be the lady of the Marquis's household. The imperial edict did not mention my name, as I was the only legitimate daughter of the Jiang family. Everyone assumed the arranged marriage was meant for me. I forced a stiff smile, but she didn't notice. At that moment, she was the only one rejoicing over this marriage. My elder brother frowned. Mother, Ning Shui has a stubborn temper. Before the wedding, you must discipline her properly. Don't let her cause any embarrassment after she's married. If it were Ninglan, perhaps only I understood his unspoken words. He meant that he wished the marriage had been granted to Ninglan instead. He was my own flesh and blood brother. Yet he preferred the quiet and timid Ninglan, who would shyly call him brother and thoughtfully sew him pouches and socks. As for me, I knew only how to eat, drink, and play. I looked at Ninglan beside me. She was the youngest daughter in the family. Though a concubine's daughter, she had been raised by the old lady since childhood and never lacked for anything. Today, she wore a light-colored brocade robe with subtle patterns, modest yet luxurious, making her appear exceptionally delicate. However, she had always been timid, and I had never noticed her before. Now, there was no joy on her face either. Of course, she had been secretly in love with the Northern Marquis for a long time, and now everyone was congratulating me. I sat in front of the mirror and touched my neck. It was as white as jade, without the terrifying bruises of my previous life. On this day in my previous life, the Northern Marquis didn't ask me and went to request an imperial edict for our marriage. At that time, I had someone I loved, Song Yurong, but I knew that the imperial edict could not be disobeyed. I couldn't ruin my entire family for the sake of one person, so I put all my feelings away and prepared to live quietly as the Northern Marquis's wife. Just as I was breaking up with Song Yurong, I ran into the Northern Marquis, who was out sightseeing with my brother. He was furious and said that the Jiang family looked down on him. He was the emperor's confidant and the youngest marquis in the court. The Jiang family couldn't afford to offend him, so my father was so angry that he almost beat me to death. In the end, it was the old lady who made the decision. My reputation was ruined, and the Northern Marquis would not want to marry me. But we couldn't disobey the imperial edict. Register Ninglan as a legitimate daughter and marry her to the Northern Marquis. When the time comes, we'll give her a generous dowry to make up for Ninglan and the Northern Marquis. It has to be you. Old lady, this family can't do without you, my father said ingratiatingly. I didn't like Ninglan, but I also felt guilty toward her. I had caused this mess, and now she had to clean it up, and even Song Yurong was dragged into it. My father cursed me, asking why I didn't just die, and my older brother blamed me for being shameless. A white silk ribbon became my fate. After I died, I didn't reincarnate. Instead, I drifted around the Jiang mansion. Ninglan shed a tear for my death. Second sister was truly pitiful. The old lady hugged her and comforted her. Lan'er, you are just too kind-hearted. It's all that girl Ningshue's fault for not knowing her place. She bullied you since childhood, always talking about being the legitimate daughter. And now she has done something that brings shame to the family. But the Northern Marquis is actually a good man for doing so much for you. Ninglan blushed and nodded. He knows I was bullied because I'm a concubine's daughter. So he fought for me to be recognized as a legitimate daughter. But will mother agree? The old lady smiled indifferently. Her daughter did such a thing, how could she have the face to oppose it? Besides, when we returned to the ancestral home for the ancestral ceremony last time, I already changed your status to that of a legitimate daughter. I listened to this with a heavy heart. What a pair of deeply affectionate grandmother and granddaughter. It turned out that they had known about what the Northern Marquis had done all along. They always said that they would rise and fall together. But when it came down to it, they let an outsider ruin my reputation. Song Yurong and I were promiscuous. But she and the Northern Marquis had a deep friendship. The Northern Marquis wanted to make Ninglan his legitimate daughter. But she had already become his legitimate daughter when no one knew about it. Why go to all this trouble to plot against me? My mother would never agree to this. When I die, my mother and brother will definitely find out everything and won't let the Northern Marquis have his way. I floated toward my mother's courtyard. Mother, Ningxue is dead. The most important thing now is not to break the marriage with the Northern Marquis. There was not a trace of sadness in my brother's eyes. As if it were an insignificant stranger who had died. He was earnestly persuading my mother to give Ninglan the dowry that had been prepared for me so that Ninglan would have more confidence. My mother's eyes were red and swollen from crying. But she agreed to my brother's persuasion. After all, the Northern Marquis was a man of high rank and power who could help my brother in the future. Even the closest of relatives were nothing more than that. I watched numbly as I was hastily buried. 6 months later, the whole household joyfully sent Ninglan off to her wedding, with a dowry that stretched for miles and made everyone envious. Looking at my lively face in the mirror, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Ha ha. Ha ha ha. Young lady. What's wrong? I pulled the corners of my mouth into a smile. Nothing. I just thought of something funny. Every day, my mother would pull me aside and tell me what dowry she had prepared for me. Today it was a pearl necklace from the Treasure Pavilion. Tomorrow it was a brocaded silk gown from the Rainbow Pavilion. Unlike in my previous life, I was not reluctant, but happily showed off my dowry every day. My brother frowned and scolded me. How can you be so shameless? Can't you learn to be as calm as Lan'er? Ninglan still smiled timidly. Sister, you are so lively and cute. I'm sure the Northern Marquis will like you just the way you are. I couldn't hide the anxiety in my eyes. She was afraid that I would really marry the Northern Marquis. On that day, I received a letter from Song Yurong. He said that he was not good enough for me and asked me to forget about our relationship. He just wanted to see me one last time to end things. I burned the letter without expression. In our previous life, when we met at the shuangwen temple, we were caught by the Northern Marquis and my brother. When I ended my life with a piece of white silk, I was worried that I would drag him down with me. Later, however, with the Northern Marquis's help, he was promoted and became rich. Once, when he was drunk, the Northern Marquis said to him, "Brother, Jiang Ningxue is dead, and I owe you a wife. But don't worry. I will definitely compensate you." It turned out that he had colluded with the Northern Marquis all along, so that he could coincidentally see our secret meeting. He did this to expose our relationship and force me, a legitimate daughter with a damaged reputation, to marry him, so that he could control me in the future. Although I died under the Northern Marquis's manipulation, Song Yurong accidentally saw a legitimate daughter of an official changing her clothes, and the two were forced to agree to a marriage contract. That legitimate daughter was gentle and virtuous. But after marriage, she was tormented by Song's mother until she miscarried. Song-Yeon then used this as an excuse to take dozens of concubines. On the day mentioned in the letter, I did not go. Instead, I sat safely in my bedroom and placed the prepared spices in my pouch. My absence made Song-Yeon panic, and he sent another letter until the mountains crumble and the heavens and earth merge. I will never part from you. Ning Shui. I have no other desires. I only wish to see you one last time to ease my longing. There is love in this world, and this hatred has nothing to do with the wind and the moon. When I burned the 7th letter, the Northern Marquis could no longer sit still and asked me out himself. I still refused. We will have plenty of opportunities to see each other after we are married. I don't have much time left at home, so I just want to spend it with my parents and fulfill my filial duty. The Northern Marquis couldn't refute this reason. He wanted to expose the affair between Song-Yeon and me, but he couldn't make a big deal out of it and damage the reputation of the entire Jiang family, which would also affect his beloved Ning Lan, if he wanted Ning Lan to receive everyone's guilt and compensation, and for me to honestly follow his plan. This matter could only be exposed by the Jiang family themselves. My father and mother wouldn't do it, and the old lady prides herself on being fair and wouldn't do such a thing openly. There was only one person left. My elder brother placed a piece of lotus flower cake from the Drunken Immortal Pavilion in front of me. Ning Shui, why haven't you been going out lately? I picked up a piece of lotus root cake and took a bite. The lotus root cake was a famous pastry from the Drunken Immortal Pavilion. Sold only 20 pieces a day, requiring a long line to purchase. I had never received such treatment before. My elder brother has always said I'm not steady enough, and marrying out might cause a scandal. I think he's right. So I'm using this time to study proper etiquette and cultivate my mindset. Before you know it, you'll be married. I've reflected on myself lately and realized I was too strict with you before. Ning Shui, don't worry. No matter what happens, I'll always be your support. After you get married, you won't be as free as you are now. Take advantage of this time to go out and have fun. It was the first time in my past life and present life that I had heard such kind words. Seeing the concern and reluctance on his face, I remembered the day Ning Lan married the Northern Marquis in my past life. He was drunk as a skunk, muttering, "Laner, Laner. The Northern Marquis treats you sincerely. He went through great hardship to secure the title of legitimate daughter for you. Ning Lan is dead, so no one will ever fight with you for anything again. You will live a happy life." He knew that the Northern Marquis had framed me, but he still considered the Northern Marquis a friend. My death was insignificant in his eyes. He even rejoiced that my death was only good for Ning Lan. I couldn't understand why he was so cold toward his own sister, until I saw the pain in his eyes when he called out Ning Lan's name. I seemed to understand. Ha ha ha. How absurd. He continued to plead with me. I lowered my eyes, pretending to know nothing since my elder brother says so. I'll go out for a walk. Brother, in our previous life, everyone got what they wanted. In this life, it's my turn to get what I want. Although I didn't become smarter after being reborn and couldn't find a way to save myself, at least I cut off everyone else's escape route. Behind the temple of the Minister of State, there was a peach blossom grove. It was March, and the peach blossoms were in full bloom, falling gently like snow. When I arrived, I saw Song-Yeon standing under the trees, tall and graceful, exuding an air of refinement. Who could have guessed that beneath that noble exterior lay such a vile and corrupt heart? Ning Shui, you've finally come. I took a step forward, gripped the hairpin tightly in my hand, and plunged it into his heart. In this world, anyone who harms a woman using the guise of chastity deserves to die. I'll send you on your way. On the path to the underworld, remember who killed you. Before he could say a word, I pushed him off the cliff. The hairpin was coated with animal attractant powder. Perhaps he would survive the fall and experience the agony of being devoured by wild beasts. I cleaned up all the traces, then sat safely under a tree to enjoy the flowers. 15 minutes later, the northern marquis arrived with my brother. Seeing me alone, they were both surprised. Second Miss Jiang. Why are you here alone? The northern marquis is joking. Who else would I be with? Could I possibly be having a secret rendezvous with someone else? I covered my mouth and laughed softly. Not at all. It's just that it's not safe for a young lady to be out alone. You should find someone to accompany you. The northern marquis laughed heartily. It was impossible to tell that such a general who fought on the battlefield was so skilled at domestic strife and dirty tricks. We chatted idly for a while. But the northern marquis looked around left and right and still didn't see the person he wanted to see. Song Yuron was already at the bottom of the cliff, probably being devoured by wild beasts by now. I smiled as I watched the two of them, thinking about what was about to happen, my heart racing with excitement. Since we've met, it must be fate. If you don't mind, would you like to have some tea with me? The Shuangwen temple had a separate courtyard for high-ranking officials to rest after offering incense. I remained composed, pouring tea for them with graceful movements. The two of them drank it in one gulp, their minds elsewhere. Please wait here for a moment. I have made some peach blossom cakes for you to try. Seeing their flushed faces, I kindly closed the door for them. Who says only women care about chastity? I'll see if they can still be good brothers after this. A quarter of an hour later, I heard movement inside the room. I smiled, took a deep breath, and let out a shrill scream that echoed throughout the temple. Ah! What's going on? What happened? Did someone break in? Passers-by heard the commotion and gathered around. Hearing the faint sounds coming from inside, everyone knew what was happening. The wife of Inspector Chen recognized me. Isn't that Miss Jiang? Who's in there? I just covered my face and cried, unable to say a word. Whoever it is, they deserve to die for doing something like this in Shokakuji Temple. Someone, break down the door. The smell inside the room was nauseating, and everyone covered their noses as they entered. All they could see was a large bed. It's the northern marquis and Mr. Jiang. The northern marquis was a newcomer to the imperial court, and his older brother was well known for his integrity. Many people knew them. One is Miss Jiang's older brother, and the other is Miss Jiang's fiancé. This. Let's go get Mr. Jiang. The two men on the bed also came to their senses. When they saw everything in front of them, the northern marquis looked at me with a murderous gaze. Miss Jiang. What a cruel thing to do. I just covered my mouth and cried. You shameless people. At this point, you still want to kill me to cover up the truth? Everyone spoke at once. Northern marquis. Why are you threatening a little girl like this? We all saw what happened today. Can you really kill us all? Miss Jiang. You have to think positively. Amidst the chaos, my father and mother hurriedly arrived and took us away. In the hall of the Jiang family mansion, my father sat at the head of the table with a grim expression, while my mother looked dazed, still unable to believe what she had seen. Her perfect, promising eldest son had actually stolen her younger sister's husband. Heaven above! What has happened? The northern marquis recounted what had happened. The second Miss Jiang is so heartless, shameless, short-sighted, and disregards the bonds of kinship. She used such despicable means to frame her own family. She is truly despicable and hateful. Her elder brother was overcome with grief. As a civil official, how could he possibly face the court now that such a scandal had erupted? Ning Shui, what have I done to deserve this? How could you ruin my life like this? When my father heard about it, he wanted to kill me. He slapped me across the face and shouted, "You worthless brat! I should have strangled you at birth. I raised you with all the best food and clothes. And this is how you repay me? You're going to ruin the Jiang family." I wasn't going to stand there and take it. I turned my head away to avoid the blow. My mother wept bitterly. What has it all come to? How could a once happy family end up like this? Ha 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 ha. It's because they plotted against me first. The Northern Marquis likes Ninglan. He knew I had someone I loved. But he deliberately asked for my hand in marriage. Then he and my brother caught us together to ruin my reputation. That way, the Jiang family would feel ashamed and recognize Ninglan as their legitimate daughter and marry her to him in a grand wedding. My brother knew the truth. But for the sake of Ninglan and to maintain good relations with the Northern Marquis, he not only kept it from me, but also repeatedly encouraged me to go out so that the Northern Marquis would have the opportunity to catch us in the act. Brother, am I not your sister? How dare you question me? I have no grudge against them. But they harmed me in the most vicious way possible to a woman for their own selfish reasons. If it weren't for the Northern Marquis martial arts skills, I would have pushed him off the cliff at the Shuangwen temple long ago and gone to be with Song Yurong. The scene was silent. The truth was too bizarre for everyone to accept. My mother asked my brother in disbelief, "Is this true?" At this point, there was no point in hiding it anymore. So my brother said in a deep voice, "Mother, I did this for Ning Shue's sake. She has a stubborn temper and is not suitable for marriage into the Marquis's mansion." I clapped my hands and said, "Brother, you are right. Family members should love and care for each other. You are thinking of me. So this is how I repay you. You have always wanted to have a good relationship with the Northern Marquis. But marrying off a sister is not a guarantee. Now that you have this connection with the Northern Marquis, he will sincerely promote you." My elder brother's face turned ashen. With this connection, the literati faction would never accept him. Decades of hard study were destroyed in an instant. Mother looked left and right, then let out a cry and pounced on Ninglan, who had dared not speak. "It's all your fault. You little slut. If it weren't for you, how could my son's future be ruined like this?" Seeing Ninglan being slapped repeatedly, the old lady could no longer stay seated. "Stop. What kind of behavior is this? What does this have to do with honor? It's Ning Shui who was improper. Having an affair with someone else first. Giving others an opportunity to take advantage." The old woman looked at me with disdain. "Ning Shui, not only do you show no remorse, but you even plotted against your own brother. Do you not understand the principle that when one prospers, all prosper, when one suffers, all suffer? The Jiang family's reputation is ruined. What future do you have left?" I immediately threw down my teacup. "Old woman, stop pretending to be innocent. I'm not talking about you. The Jiang family is not a vegetable market. How did the Northern Marquis know something that even my father and mother didn't know? It was your beloved Lana who told him. When she revealed her sister's shameful deeds, didn't she think about how the family would suffer together? The Northern Marquis has an affair with her. Why don't you say she's immoral? You, an old woman who always talks about rules. Aren't you covering for them? You're a shameless person who only cares about fame and reputation. How dare you talk about rules?" The old lady was so angry that she fell backwards. "You're talking nonsense. Lana isn't that kind of person. Don't slander her." I sneered. "Whether it's lies or not, a simple search will reveal the truth. Two people deeply in love must have exchanged letters and gifts." The old lady and Ninglan paled but dared not argue further. Hearing that his daughters were all involved in illicit affairs, even the old lady was complicit. The father was so enraged he didn't know whom to scold. The Northern Marquis looked at Ninglan affectionately. "At this point, I won't hide it anymore. I do want to marry Ninglan. Anyway, the imperial edict has already been issued, and the marriage between our two families is inevitable." Ninglan was so moved that her eyes were red. Although the northern marquis had schemed against her sister and insulted her beloved brother, he had done it all for her. How could such deep affection not move her? Her father was so angry that he fell backwards. If you really like Ninglan, just say so. Would I have disagreed? Now you've caused so much trouble, and you still dare to mention the marriage alliance. The old lady coughed. I can see that the northern marquis is sincere about Ninglan. Now that the die is cast, we might as well let them be together. Although she was destroying a grandson and a granddaughter, Ninglan was the one she loved the most, and no one else mattered. The reputation of the Jiang family was about to be ruined. If they didn't hold on to the northern marquis, Ninglan would never find such a powerful family in the future. At this moment, the old lady didn't care if others said she was biased. Her husband had always cared most about the prosperity of the Jiang family. Now that the son she had pinned all her hopes on was ruined, the only way to strengthen the Jiang family was through a marriage alliance. Now that the northern marquis felt indebted to the Jiang family, she could use this leverage to ensure that he would not abandon the Jiang family. Seeing that her father was moved, her mother was furious. All of you Jiang family are wolves in sheep's clothing. You ruined my son and daughter, and now you want Ninglan to step on them to get ahead? You're dreaming. I will not agree to register Ninglan as a legitimate daughter. If she wants to marry the northern marquis, she can marry him as a concubine. The old lady revealed a determined smile. Last time we went back to our hometown to worship our ancestors, I already registered Ninglan under your name, making her your legitimate daughter. If the northern marquis wants to marry her, none of you can stop him. You might as well be generous and let them be together. As soon as she said this, everyone's faces turned dark. My father stepped forward and kicked Ninglan to the ground. If it weren't for filial piety, that kick would have been aimed at the old lady. The northern marquis wants to make Ninglan his legitimate daughter and marry her, so the old lady has already registered her as such. You two are in contact and have an affair. If you had communicated with each other, none of this would have happened. Do you think everyone is stupid? Yes. It could have been a happy ending for everyone, but they had to sacrifice others to make their love seem deeper. Now look at us. We've lost all our dignity, and the whole family is being mocked by everyone. The old lady finally realized she was in the wrong and couldn't say a word. She had always thought she was the wisest person in the family, with everything under control, but she never imagined I could cause so much trouble. Her elder brother glared at everyone with hatred. At this moment, he felt that all his efforts for Ninglan were a joke, but he didn't know that his time to cry hadn't come yet. The next day, the imperial censor reported that Jiang Ruozhu, the eldest son of the Jiang family, had failed to uphold moral standards, acted improperly, and disrespected imperial grace. Such matters between men were not considered serious. If they were to be spread around, they would merely be regarded as another scandalous affair. However, the problem was that the other party was his future brother-in-law. And moreover, this marriage had been personally arranged by the emperor. Jiang Ruozhu's actions, to put it bluntly, were tantamount to disregarding the imperial edict, which was a capital offense. My father pleaded bitterly in the imperial court, but the majesty of the imperial family could not be violated, and the emperor immediately stripped my brother of his title and official position, meaning that he could never hold office again in his life. The northern marquis was also severely reprimanded by the imperial censor. The emperor had been worried that the northern marquis had too much power, so now that he had a ready-made excuse, he took away his military power and ordered him to stay at home and reflect on his mistakes. The news reached the Jiang family, and my mother fainted on the spot. Jiang Ruozhu wanted to strangle me to death. Jiang Ningsno, look at the state I'm in. Are you satisfied now? I smiled wryly. Brother, how can you say such things? Your sister was only thinking of your best interests. How can I defend myself against such accusations? Jiang Ruozhu rolled her eyes and fainted as well. Rumors spread throughout the capital, and some people swore that they had known all along that Jiang Ruozhu was a hypocrite. I heard that the Northern Marquis likes the Jiang family's illegitimate daughter and fell in love with her at first sight. He's doing all this just to marry her in a proper manner. That's fake news. Who would be so crazy? She's just an illegitimate daughter. Why go to all this trouble to marry her? Your information is outdated. According to my 7th uncle's wife's niece's sister's nephew, the Northern Marquis has been flirting with Jiang Ruozhu for a long time. He asked for the eldest daughter of the Jiang family because she looks like his sister. So it was a case of love at first sight. Meanwhile, bookstores across the capital were booming. Books like My Brother Comes First and I and My Brother Part Ways were flying off the shelves. I counted the silver coins, grinning ear to ear, and decided to stay up all night to write a few more. The Jiang family's reputation plummeted. The young lady who had once been engaged to my elder brother hurriedly arranged another marriage. Officials' wives and relatives no longer sent invitations to the Jiang household. My father's hair had turned white, and my mother sighed deeply every day, no longer acknowledging my existence. She had always loved me, but compared to Jiang Ruozhu, I was no longer important. Everyone in the family wanted me dead, but dared not act now, fearing they would give others another chance to mock us. Yet I did not regret a single thing I had done. Why should I be exposed for my mistakes and pay the price, while their schemes remain hidden? When one prospers, all prosper. When one suffers, all suffer. I repeated this phrase to myself, laughing aloud. How true it was. A family should stay together. Half a year later, Jiang Ninglan still married the Northern Marquis. After experiencing many trials and tribulations, the lovers finally got together. However, this time, there was none of the grandeur of the previous life. Very few people came to the ceremony, and the dowry was poor and used to make up the numbers. Before leaving, Jiang Ninglan looked at me proudly, and the timidity in her eyes was gone. Second sister, let me give you some advice. If you do wrong, you will destroy yourself. I thought of her previous life, how she and the Northern Marquis were deeply in love after they got married, and how the Northern Marquis replaced all the female servants around him with men so that he would not look at other women. He even refused to eat female chickens, ducks, and fish. Everyone in the capital envied her for her skill in controlling her husband. I gave her a mocking glance. Once, I had been ruined by my own chastity. Now, I refused to use the same method against a woman. But that didn't mean I would let her off so easily. Dear sister, I've left you a special gift. I hope you like it. 3 days after the wedding, Ninglan's face was covered with exhaustion that she couldn't hide. The Northern Marquis ignored her and just drank glass after glass of wine. There was no laughter at the banquet, except for me, who was eating with relish. After dinner, the Northern Marquis and Jiang Ruozhu went to the front yard. The old lady hurriedly comforted Ninglan. Men in this world are so unfeeling. You must stay calm and just give birth to a legitimate son when the time comes. When Ninglan heard the words legitimate son, tears fell from her eyes. On their wedding night, the Northern Marquis swept his sleeves and left, never to enter her room again. The old lady didn't understand why and thought that the Northern Marquis was taking his anger out on Ninglan for being scolded by the emperor. So she taught her many ways to win people's hearts. No man can resist a beautiful woman. Be a good wife and take in a few concubines for him. With time, he will naturally see your virtues. As long as you don't give birth to an illegitimate child, concubines are just lowly playthings and won't cause any trouble. Ninglan nodded tearfully. But only a month later, the Northern Marquis became even more debauched and abandoned his harem of women to go to the Nanfeng pavilion. Ninglan finally realized something and rushed to the Jiang family to cry and scream. Jiang Ningxue, you ruined the Marquis. He. This was a rare opportunity. That day, I not only gave him a drug that made him lose his mind with desire, but also a drug that prevents conception and another that causes impotence. It was also because I needed to find these drugs that I delayed leaving for so long, giving them the chance to catch him in the act. At first, I was worried the potion wouldn't work, but now I can finally rest assured. I pouted. Sister, you're slandering me like this. I don't know what to say. Ninglan frantically threw herself at me, her expression crazed. Jiang Ningxue, you'll get your comeuppance. I've never done anything to you. Why are you so cruel and trying to ruin me? I immediately dodged her and watched her fall to the ground in a heap. Although she and the Northern Marquis could no longer be husband and wife in this life, the Northern Marquis was still as uninterested in women as he had been in his previous life. Thinking about it that way, she didn't really lose anything. Jiang Ningxue, I won't let you get away with this. Ninglan left after uttering those harsh words. Soon, rumors began to spread throughout the capital that the eldest daughter of the Jiang family had engaged in an illicit affair and had killed her lover. Coincidentally, the remains of Song Yurong were discovered, and everyone suspected that I had killed him. Hee, you guessed right. But there's no evidence. When Song Yurong saw me, he avoided me. When he left, I had someone search his room, and all the letters we exchanged had already been destroyed. No one could prove that the last person he saw was me, and there was no evidence to prove that I killed him. The officials from the Jingzhou prefecture came to ask a few questions, and the case was closed. It was concluded that Song Yurong had accidentally fallen off a cliff. My mother finally saw me, and her eyes were filled with hatred and reluctance. Ning Shui, now that things have come to this, your life is ruined. Is it worth it? I smiled and said, Mother, do you want to hear a story? Decades of living as a wandering spirit had already driven me mad. No matter how bad things got now, they couldn't get much worse. Jiang Ruozhu snapped out of her depression and decided to find a girl from a low-ranking family to marry, have a son, and raise the next generation. But she discovered she was now a useless person. The Jiang family could no longer tolerate me. On the day I left the Jiang family, only my mother came to see me off. I hugged her one last time and then walked away without looking back. She would be heartbroken and eventually forget me, just as she had in my previous life. Chun Tao asked me, Miss, where are we going? I took her into a Taoist temple, which I had bought with the money I had saved from selling my paintings. From now on, call me master. You will be my chief disciple. The Qingfeng Taoist temple was small and dilapidated, which was why I could afford it. That night, Chun Tao and I hid in the cellar and avoided being assassinated. I knew that the assassins had been sent by the Northern Marquis. He hated me for drugging him and turning him into a eunuch. He couldn't do anything to me when I was in the Jiang family, but now he finally had his chance. Chun Tao trembled. Miss, let's flee immediately. Let's run far away. I stroked her head and said, Don't worry. The next day, I finally met the person I had been waiting for. Zhang Derin from the Imperial Astronomical Bureau. Miss Jiang, is what you said true? Several days earlier, I had sent him a message stating that the embankment in Huayan County would collapse by the end of the month, resulting in numerous casualties. At first, Zhang Derin didn't believe me, but yesterday, news of heavy rains in Huayan County for half a month reached the capital, and he finally took it seriously. In my previous life as a wandering spirit, I had heard rumors of these events. The sight of Huayan County littered with corpses was etched in my memory. I told him firmly, It's absolutely true. If I'm lying, I'm willing to accept any punishment. My only request is that you find a way to protect me. Zhang De rinsed for a moment and nodded. By the end of the month, the embankment in Huayan County breached exactly as I had predicted. Since the residents had been evacuated in advance, the casualties were minimal. The emperor rewarded me and bestowed upon me the title of Shan Daozhang. Qingfeng Monastery became a renowned Taoist temple, renovated with grandeur and elegance. And my life was safeguarded. Within the palace, I made my second prophecy to the emperor. Next May, a severe drought will strike Dangzhou, leaving the land barren for thousands of miles. As one prophecy after another came true, no one in the capital dared to underestimate me anymore. When Chun Tao told me that people in the countryside were offering me a steal for longevity, my heart stirred, and the shadows of my past life began to fade. On that day, the sky was clear, and the sun shone brightly across the land. Epilogue. The former northern marquis, Xiao Yu, had long been stripped of his title under the suppression of Jiangning, and the marquis's mansion became the Xiao Mansion. In order to cover up the fact that he had become a useless person, Xiao Yu proclaimed to the outside world that he and Jiang Ninglan were deeply in love and would never take another wife. Even though Jiang Ninglan had not given birth to a child in 3 years, Xiao Yu did not mind at all. The ladies of the capital all envied Jiang Ninglan's good fortune. Lady Xiao, I hear that Lord Xiao has dismissed all his concubines and is now devoted solely to you. What a rare gem of a man he is. Jiang Ninglan forced a stiff smile. What could she say? Should she admit that while there were no concubines in the household, there were a bunch of male favorites? He treats you so well, you should be content. At least give him an heir. I have a secret formula for conceiving a son, take it and try it, it's guaranteed to work. Hearing such words urging her to conceive again, Jiang Ninglan fled in panic. Upon returning to the Xiao Mansion, she was greeted by the carefree Xiao Yu. Oh, you're back so early? Why didn't you stay longer to listen to others praise you? Jiang Ninglan looked at the man mocking her before her, her heart growing cold. She had done nothing wrong. Yet why had she ended up in this situation? Thinking of all the years she had spent enduring humiliation, she finally burst out. I don't even despise you for being a useless man. Why are you still forcing me like this? Xiao Yu sneered. What right do you have to despise me? If you hadn't always shown off your suffering in front of me, I wouldn't have plotted against Jiangning and been ruined by her. All of this is your fault. Jiang Ninglan's face turned pale. I never asked you to do those things. Ha ha. Jiang Ninglan, what are you pretending? If you didn't want me to do it, then why did you tell me about your older sister's private matters? Admit it, when you found out I had set up Jiangning for you. You were happy, weren't you? Jiang Ninglan couldn't refute his words, for he was telling the truth. The two hated each other deeply. Yet they could only continue to be entangled in this way. The once bustling Jiang mansion was now devoid of any joyful sounds. The old matriarch had become a true widow, and Jiang Ruoshu drowned her sorrows in alcohol every day. The only one who remained clear-headed was Zhang's wife. Now that Jiang Ningxue had become the emperor's favored Taoist master, saving countless lives. After she sent her some gifts a few times, the Jiang family understood her intentions. No one in the Jiang family dared to look down on her. They all hoped to use her to mend relations with Jiang Ningxue, so that the Jiang family could return to its former glory. But Zhang's wife simply sat quietly in the Buddha hall. She had been married into the Jiang family for so many years, giving birth to children, raising them, and teaching them to be good people. Now, her children were killing each other, and the family was in ruins. It wasn't until her daughter told her a story that she realized that past actions determine present outcomes. Why force what cannot be? Later, Jiang Ningxue sent her a letter. Mother, the spring waters of Jiangnan are green. Would you care to accompany me? Madame Jiang finally let go, tears streaming down her face as she instructed the maids to pack her belongings. At over 40 years old, she finally saw the light of spring. Fortunately, the spring remained as beautiful as ever.